Cameron, what say you?
Well, obviously, the one list is called the ideal list because it's the ideal, and the ideal rarely is the case in actuality. So, unfortunately, God is not at the very top of my list. He's higher up on my. He's at the second slot. He's higher up on my list than he would have been. It sounds so weird talking about God like this. I've prioritized God more lately than I used to in the past. But what really actually is fairly distressing to me when I look at this, and this will come as no surprise to my wife, is that graduate school is at the very, very bottom. It's the very last thing. And that actually is a fairly high priority for me. Because if I've planned, not only do I plan to go to graduate school to augment the degree I already have, I have a humanities degree, which effectively doesn't mean that much without postgraduate work. It also is something that I feel specifically called to do. So it ought to be a lot higher up on the priorities list. Now the good thing about this is, obviously these lists help to put things into perspective, but I am actually being proactive about this. I have a meeting scheduled for Monday, and in that meeting I'm going to talk to the director of the ministry I work for, and I am going to basically outline a plan of action for graduate studies. I think if I play the cards right, I can be sponsored in my graduate studies and get a scholarship to do it, and also just figure out what the next course of action is to move sort of into more of a research and speaking capacity where I'm at. And so that would be so the graduate school would be probably the biggest discrepancy I see on here. Obviously, the fact that God is in the second slot. I mean, all that needs to happen there is you wake up and you make a conscious choice that day, and it has to be every single day that you're going to meditate and study the Word, and that not just that. I mean, it's not just an obligation, but it's actually a personal relationship, which sounds strange when you don't have a tangible person with you, but it just means you're talking, you're praying, you're just listening. Sometimes I think we do so little listening. We do so much. I know I do so much begging, so much. I need this, I need that, God, but just sometimes just to sit still and just to listen to God. So, and yeah, I think that about covers my discrepancies.
All right. Heather?
Okay.
Talk to us about some of your discrepancies.
Yeah, I guess what I'd like to have, I think family has always been a high priority on my list. Regardless, that's never been a hard one to keep up there. But I think work has just kind of taken over with the route that I've gone with the lessons, and traveling from lesson to lesson to lesson has really made my life a little bit busier. And I tend to pack everything out, like, because I'm a doer more than a thinker. And so I think lists, like checking things off my to-do list for the day, or like having a plan for my day, is a really plays a big part in why I've packed out my day so much. But I find that work comes ahead of a lot of things that I wish would be at the top of my priority list. Obviously, like God, I spend a lot of my time running and praying, but that doesn't substitute being in the Word. And so I think that that's something that I definitely need to work on. Just because, I know Bible verses, and I grew up in Bible school, all through elementary to college. But at the same time, like, it's not going to benefit me, if I'm not consistently memorizing or consistently reading scripture and really making sure that that's on the forefront of my brain, because my initial response to things is usually to get extremely hot-headed and angry instead of being gentle or patient or kind to people, because I want things to go my way. So like, I think having God at the top of my list above all of those other things, that I like to do, would really help me in the way that I respond, and just the way that I interact with people outside of my friend group, because it's easy to be kind to my friends. Like, it's easy to be around people that you love, or that you really want to be around. But when it comes into those situations where you're having to deal with people who don't know that you're a Christian or that don't understand, where you're coming from, then, when you flip out or when you say the wrong thing, like, that gives them a really bad idea of who you are, and then you're not representing Christ at all. So I think, making my devotions a top priority would help in that situation, well, just in those situations that come up from time to time. So that, and I'd really like to prioritize, my health and my friends above, work as well, just because I tend to neglect me, whereas I'm very willing to take care of Cameron, but when it comes to, like, Cameron not being around and it's me just having to fend for me, like, I really have to, I'll just sit down with a bowl of cereal, and, I won't, like, or out today, like, I was really stressed, so I didn't want to eat, whereas that's not going to help the situation at all. That's just going to be, me being hungry later, and in turn, being tired and sick, if I'm not careful. So anyways, so that's just kind of, those are some things that I've noticed that probably should take precedence over work and things to do. So anyways.
The thing about you, I would tell you.
Here you go. I think, like, the most startling thing was realizing, like, how low my priority is of actually spending time with God. And, I think Cameron said it really well when he just said, it just comes down to just making it a priority and doing it. And, right now, like, I'm just consumed with, like, taking care of the baby and, like, finding this new balance of my new role as, like, being at home and taking care of a baby, and, like, what all of that looks like. And I'm not at a perfect balance yet. I think some things I do better than others, but if I'm totally honest with everyone, like, my relationship with God is there. Like, I can say that I pray, but usually I'm praying for Madden, so it's not really like I'm praying for, like, like, okay, where's the discrepancies or flaws in my personal walk with the Lord, and, like, what is he trying to teach me. And so just finding out, like, that balance and making it a priority and really, like, pursuing it instead of saying, like, oh, well, ideally this is what I would like, but really focusing on it. And the other thing that I kind of struggle with is, like, on the ideal list, like, extended family, like, making them a priority was much higher on the list, but in reality, like, it's not on the list. It's very low. And we see our family a lot, but do I take the time to, is it something that I want to spend time, like, and I'm not just talking about Ben's family, like, my family either, and there's nothing wrong with them, like, they're all godly people, but do I want to take that priority and, like, invest in those relationships? No, not if I'm honest, I don't. And so I need to, like, change my attitude and really make them a priority, because what a blessing that Madden has to, like, to have grandparents who, like, love him and support him and they love the Lord. And I don't need to push that away, but after, looking over my actions, I certainly am pushing them away, because I'm just not making an effort at all. So that's what I have.
That's all.